I am the bulb underground. I have spent most of my life learning how to disappear. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Because sometimes the only way to keep the thing that makes you alive is to bury it so deep that nothing can reach it. I am a woman now. I have survived into the age where people look at me and see strength. They see the bloom, never the bulb. They see the petals, never the dark season that preceded them. They call me resilient and strong. They do not know that I learned resilience because I wasn't really afforded the option to be fragile. This is the story of how I became, not just what happened, but what grew in spite of it. What grew because of the bending and breaking. What grew in the dark, alone, feeding on nothing but the memory of light. I have always been drawn to daisies and lilies, the simplest flowers, the most overlooked, the ones that do not demand your attention with thorns or perfume, but simply are quiet, honest, present. I did not understand why they moved me so deeply until I understood myself. A daisy bends, a lily breaks, and I have been both. There's a scene in a movie I love, You've Got Mail, where someone calls the daisy the friendliest flower. I remember hearing that and feeling seen in a way I could not explain. Daisies are not too much, not too busy or all that glamorous. They are simple, lovely, approachable. They make you feel welcome without asking for anything in return. That was me. That is me at my core. The girl who wanted to make everyone laugh. The girl who loved freely, gave freely, and believed that if she poured enough light into other people, they would pour it back. The girl who wore her heart on her sleeve because she did not know yet that some hands would use it to pull her apart. I was sunshine in human form. I believed in reciprocity and that love given was love returned. I did not know yet that the world does not operate on the currency of your goodness, or that some people take your light not because they need it, but because they cannot generate their own. My sister told me something once after heartbreak that felt like the final crack in an already fractured foundation. She said, "Never expect you out of other people. They will never love you, respect you, or appreciate you the way you would them." I resented her for saying it. I resented it because it was true. I had spent my whole life given the kind of love I wanted to receive. And when it did not come back, I did not blame the receivers. I blamed myself. Should've, would've, could've is all I would tell myself. That is the obvious lie we tell ourselves. It's what you learn when you are left alone in rooms where love should have been. And like a flower bulb, you go deep, turn inward, and start over again. This is my resilient stem. And don't even think about opening up. Too much, too fast, or too soon. It'll only lead to unfamiliar responses. Don't stop your growth. Tuck that shit in. Keep the stride. Once a Black woman reveals her struggles and how she's overcome them, the labeling begins. You're such a strong Black woman. They say it like it is a compliment, a crown, or something we chose. I hate that phrase more than anyone could ever imagine because it indicates that softness doesn't live here. She can handle it. She always does. She bounces back quickly. Oh, she's built for X, Y, or Z. No, the fuck I'm not. I, like so many other Black women, have been simply lucky enough to survive shit. Resilience. The word sounds beautiful until you realize it is a cage. Until you understand that resilience is what they call you when they have watched you break repeatedly and done nothing to stop the breaking. The daisy has a flexible stem. It bends in harsh winds. It sways. It dips. It nearly touches the ground, and then it rights itself. It keeps blooming. It does not snap. It does not demand protection. It simply endures. I have been that daisy, bending for others so much that it hurt, swaying in storms that should have uprooted me entirely, learning the hard way to make endurance look like grace, smiling while my roots were drowning, and learning to say I am fine, so convincingly that even I started to believe it. But bending, eventually your spine remembers the curve. Eventually standing straight feels like a lie. Eventually you forget that you were ever allowed to be anything other than the thing that weathered the storm. I did not want to be resilient. I wanted to be held. I wanted someone to see the wind coming and build a wall. I wanted someone to say, "You do not have to bend this time. I will stand in front of you." That wall never came. So I learned to be my own, to stake myself up and stand alone. But taking that stance came with a heavy bloom. If the daisy is what the world demanded I become, the lily is what I actually am. True lilies are not flexible. Their stems are tall, heavy, gorgeous, and fragile. In high winds, they snap. They cannot bend like the daisy. They were never meant to. They were meant to be sheltered, supported, protected. They were meant to grow in gardens where someone cares enough to stake them before the storm hits. I am a lily. I have always been a lily. My spirit is delicate. My heart is soft. I am not built for harsh winds. I never was. But life did not ask what I was built for. Life exposed me to high winds anyway. And when I snapped, when my heavy bloom hit the ground, no one came to replant or build a greenhouse around me. No one said, "She is too beautiful to break. Let us protect her." Instead, I was told to stand up, stake myself, and become my own support system. To pretend that my snapped stem was not to be considered damage, but rather a choice. I learned to hold myself up with wire and willpower, to make my brokenness look like architecture, to be the flower, the stake, the bloom, and the brace, the thing that needs and the thing that provides. But a lily staked by its own broken stem does not grow the same. It survives. It may even bloom again, but it never forgets the snap. It never forgets what it felt like to fall. And then the dormancy. There comes a point in every lily's life when the petals drop. The bloom is spent. The stem yellows, hollows, and turns to nothing. Above ground, it looks like death, like this is the end. But underground, tucked away, out of sight, the bulb, it's still alive. The bulb is where the lily stores everything, every nutrient, every memory of light, every promise of spring. When the visible parts die, the bulb does not mourn. It feeds. It waits and prepares. I have gone underground more times than I can count. Not because I wanted to, because it was the only way to survive. When trust is broken, when bonds shatter, when what you thought was true or real love finally reveals itself, its true colors. When the people who should have been your shelter become your storm. I do not fight. I never fight. I don't argue, because at that point, once the damage is done, it's a wrap for me. I do not try to glue the petals back on. I cut off instantly, completely. I disappear into myself. Some may consider it cold, too much, or extreme. More realistically, they simply say, she just doesn't give a fuck. They do not understand that for a lily, dormancy is not death. It is preservation. It is the necessary evil of holding on to the self when the world has proven it will not hold you at all. I have let friendships die naturally, relationships wither, and have let family ties turn yellow and hollow. And I have done it knowing the hurt was coming. I have welcomed the festering, the decay, the loneliness, because knowing what is coming prepares you, because watching something die slowly is less dangerous than pretending it is still alive. The stalk turns yellow, then hollow, then into dormancy. That is my healing and my reset. That is where I forgive, not them, but myself. That is where I find clarity and remember who I was before the breaking. It is not comfortable. It can be, quite honestly, lonely. But it is and has been absolutely and personally necessary. It is how I keep my peace, my mind, and health, how I keep my focus and my goals in sight. Always focus, always forward. My motto has always been, if X fails, else equals nothing. Pivot. My life has been the mastery of pivoting. And there's the winter freeze. Daisies are different. When things are good, when I am loved, are respected, appreciated, when the sun is warm and the soil is right. I bloom like the rays from the sun. I feel unstoppable. I am my best self in the light. I thrive on the rays of life. I give and love freely. I'm funny, silly, and caring, the one who makes you feel at home. But sadly, the world will never know or experience that about me. When the sun stops shining, when love is withheld, when respect is absent, when appreciation is replaced with expectation, I do not slowly fade, I freeze. Like a cold winter, the ground turning hard, I cut off, I ignore the world. I go into dormancy. Not the slow, natural dormancy of the lily, but a sudden, sharp withdrawal. A survival mechanism so ingrained I do not even decide it anymore. My body, spirit, and my roots decide. Protect the bulb at all costs. And perhaps socially, it is not healthy. I know it confuses people. I know it burns bridges that might have been salvageable. But emotionally, mentally, it has kept me alive. It has kept my root system intact. It has prevented the rot from spreading. In that dormancy, I revive. I find new life. I find new perspectives. I ask, where will my petals take me next? What new direction? What new soil? Every freeze is a reset. Every winter is a rehearsal for spring. This is my photosynthesis. Here is what people do not see about the dying lily. The leaves are still working. Even when the bloom is gone, even when the stem is yellowing, the remaining green leaves are crucial. They are photosynthesizing. They are absorbing sunlight. They are feeding the bulb so it can produce flowers for the next spring. I am always working, even in my dormancy. Even when I look like I have given up, even when I have disappeared, I am absorbing. I am feeding the part of me that the world cannot see. I am storing light for the season when I will need it most. This is the part of strength, the quiet and underground part, the part that looks like nothing but is actually everything. I do not need to be seen to be growing or validated to be valid. I am feeding my own bulb and preparing my own spring because I know that there's a garden that I deserve. Often expected to endure harsh winds, the strong Black woman narrative that demands I bend without breaking, praises my flexibility while ignoring my fragility, that calls my survival a virtue instead of recognizing it as a necessity born of neglect. I want to thrive in softness, the lily in the greenhouse, not the lily in the storm. I want to be the daisy in the sun-drenched meadow, not the daisy in the drought. Delicate, I want to be and remain delicate, without apology. I want to need protection without shame. I want a garden that stakes me up before the wind hits, soil that is tended, water that is given, not begged for. I want to be surrounded by other flowers who understand that blooming is not a competition, it is a chorus. I am learning to build that garden, and for now, to be my own gardener, even as I wait for others to show up with watering cans. I am learning that the desire to step out of survival mode and simply thrive is not weakness. It is the most radical form of self-love I can imagine. And I do not think a lot of people understand that, or worse, they could not care less. But I know that there are blooms to come. I am still becoming. I am the woman I was, the woman I am, and the woman I hope to be, all at once. I am the little girl who loved freely. I am the young woman who learned to distrust. I am the adult who is learning to love again, carefully, selectively, with boundaries that feel like armor, but are actually just healthy skin. I am the daisy and the lily, the resilient and the delicate, the one who bends and the one who breaks, the one who survives the winter and the one who deserves to never see another one. My petals will drop again. I already know this. And at some point, I will definitely go underground. I know this too. But I also know that my bulb is strong. My leaves are feeding the future. Every dormancy has been followed by a bloom more beautiful than the last. This is not a story of triumph over tragedy. This is a story of becoming, of learning that the same soil that buried me also grew me. Understanding that my softness is not a flaw to be corrected, but a feature to be protected. I am writing this because the little girl inside me deserves to be heard, because the woman I am deserves to be witnessed, because the woman I hope to be deserves a foundation built on truth, not by being or perceived as something I am not. Daisies and lilies, simplicity and elegance, resilience and fragility, the friendly flower and the heavy bloom. I am all of it. I am still growing. And this spring, this season, this chapter, this life, I am choosing to bloom on my own terms. Until next time.